So the question is, how do I break out from this situation where I'm controlling and being controlled by my need to control? Because it's not immediately apparent that there is any getting out of this situation, since the only way I would be able to do this is by finding some way to control, finding some way to get that to be the case, what I want to be the case. And that's not going to work, even though it's the only thing I know. In order to be able to get a better perspective on this, it's helpful to consider the idea that we have two basic orientations in life. It's kind of like a little thing with two settings. It's either one or the other. There's nothing else. So one setting is being orientated to having things the way I want them to be. So that sounds pretty familiar. We can all relate to that. That's kind of the basic modality of human existence, being essentially orientated to getting what we want, or wanting reality to be the way we think it ought to be, which is, of course, the control mode thing. In a nutshell, obviously, that's what control mode is all about. But there is another orientation, which is actually more powerful, even though that orientation in control mode is very strong, immensely strong. The other one's more powerful, and the other orientation is where we're orientated towards the truth. Whatever the truth is, we don't know what the truth is. If I thought I did know what the truth is, then that would be control mode, because I'd have this idea of what the truth is, and then I'd be trying to make everything accord with it, which again is what we all do. We all have an idea of what the truth is, or theory, or belief, or model. But whenever we have an idea or a theory or a model of what the truth is, the one thing we absolutely know for sure, and we don't know that many things absolutely for sure, but we know this, we know that whatever I believe is true or say is true or is not true, guaranteed to be a lie straight away. So we know that instantaneously. Whatever I think to be true, guaranteed to be a lie. And that's a good thing to know. It's very clear cut, very good rule of thumb. Someone else comes to tell you what's true, you know he's lying. She's lying. You know they're lying. Absolutely, straight away. Absolutely a brilliant rule of thumb. It's a really good way to know a lie. It's like someone saying, you can trust me, or whatever. So it's nothing to do with this need that we have to think we know what's true, which is a different thing altogether. That's a hiding away need. That's the need we have to insulate ourselves from reality. The need that we have to close our accounts with reality. So whatever reality is out there doing, I'm doing my own thing. And that's the way we like it. No interference that way. No unexpected surprises. Reality is terrible for unexpected surprises. It'll always come up with an unexpected surprise. And it'll be a big one. It's always guaranteed to be a big one. And we can't ever prepare for it. Because all we can ever use for preparing is our ideas. And our ideas are always beside the point. They're always a million light years away from what is the case. They don't help us in any regard. In fact, far from helping us, they send us into the wrong direction. They send us in the direction of the abstract, which is, by very definition, the abstract is the antithesis of the actually real. So the orientation towards the truth is a funny thing. So it's really, another way of putting it is to say that it is our inherent or intrinsic orientation towards certainty, towards finding certainty interesting. So if I'm orientated towards uncertainty, that's because I find it really, really interesting. There's life in it. There's something happening. something unexpected. So it makes sense. If I am actually interested in uncertainty, then I'm interested in life or reality. If I am not interested in radical uncertainty, which isn't the uncertainty to do with, say, throwing a coin and seeing whether it's heads or tails, that's a kind of pretty poor cousin of radical uncertainty. If I'm not interested in radical uncertainty, I am not interested in life. I want something else. Please, can I have something else? Something a little bit safer. Something I can be a little bit sure about. And as soon as we have that attitude, of course, there's a whole load of stuff that we can choose from. It's like walking into a massive shopping centre with all sorts of products, all sorts of different types of certainty we can pick and choose from. But they're all certainties, which means they're all lies. It's unusual to be orientated towards uncertainty because, as I was saying, uncertainty is the one thing that's going to upset the apple cart. It's guaranteed to. It wouldn't be worth a damn. It wouldn't be uncertainty if it didn't do that. So somehow there is this, in this orientation, we're actually up for it. We are interested in finding out what it's all about at any cost. That's not a high and mighty thing. Every child is like that. They're just like that because that's the natural way for us to be. What other way is there to be? To not be interested in finding out the truth, whatever the cost? That doesn't sound very good, does it? It doesn't sound kind of natural. It sounds like there's something gone wrong there. And what's gone wrong there is that we've fallen under the shadow of fear. So as long as fear is in the picture, we are absolutely only interested in the safe product. We're only interested in whatever banal forms of certainty we decide to go for. So we can see straight away that whereas it is the natural state for children to be in, something happens to us as adults and we become very, very uninterested in radical uncertainty. We become profoundly uninterested. In fact, uninterested is the wrong word. We actually invest all of our life energy in the task of building the wall, as in the wall. All of our energy goes into that. We're so enthusiastic about it. We think it's so great. Everything we do, all of our actions, all of our goals, it's all about building the wall, creating the facade of certainty, the facade of there is no such thing as radical uncertainty. We're so engrossed in it and it feels so good. And then when we get to the end of it all and we've built that wall, that's when we discover that, what have I done? Maybe this isn't such a good thing after all because I'm on the wrong side of the wall. Life's on the other side. I'm on this side. There's not a lot happening on this side. So it is no exaggeration to say that this is what happens to all of us. This is the process of life where our energy gets hijacked into the task of creating ontological security for us. And you can't do the two things at the same time. You can't serve two masters. Either we're invested in creating ontological security, or we're interested in seeing what lies behind the facade. There's absolutely no way we can switch from one to the other and have a bit of this and a bit of that. It's got to be one or the other. It's like saying if you're orientated towards the truth, but you kind of think, okay, lies are okay sometimes, or sometimes it might be a bit handy to hide behind a lie, or that if your whole life is based doing stuff in accordance with the prevailing lies and adapting to the world that is made out of lies and building our life there, that we could still be very light-hearted from time to time and say, well, I'll take a break from this and just have a look at what's really going on, because we can't do that. At that stage, we absolutely can't do that because we've got too much to lose. So if we're in the one modality, which is being orientated purely towards what we want to happen, which our culture sees as being absolutely fantastic, we see it as being very, very healthy. If we see someone with this strong tendency to want to get things to be the way they would like them to be or think they should be, we'll pat them on the head and say, that's good, that's very mentally healthy, just keep on doing that, that's great. Without acknowledging in any way that this is an act of denial. It's moving in the opposite direction from reality, wanting to move in the opposite direction from reality as fast as you can and as far as you possibly can. So the first thing we can say is that if we're orientated in this way towards certainty, towards the world of the known, towards believing whatever the external authority, whether that's society or our own thinking, wants us to believe in, then in that case we're not going to be able to, the opportunity isn't going to arise and the inclination isn't going to arise for us to want to be free from the controlling, because obviously that's not what we want. We're really, really fundamentally disinterested in freedom from controlling. We are really, really fundamentally disinterested in freedom. Nothing strange about that. The existentialists have been saying that for a long, long time. Freedom's a nasty old thing. So if we are orientated that way, it's not going to work for us. And even this question of looking closely at what controlling means and kind of seeing it for ourselves, that it is a hard thing to get out of if we want to stop controlling, if we're sick of our controlling. That's never going to arise because we're not interested in that line of discussion anyway. We're just not interested. We won't be reading the book. We won't be turning the page. We won't be there at all. So, moving towards the other possibility, which is where somewhere inside of us there's this little compass pointing towards the truth. And no matter what happens, and it always, even if there's various kind of upsets and storms, it'll always come creeping back to pointing towards the truth and leading us on a bit and making us interested in finding out what the truth is. And if that's the case, then becoming free from our own controlling isn't an impossibility. It's very far from being an impossibility. It's actually already happening, because if my inner compass keeps on swinging around to point in the direction of the truth, that means that controlling is no longer my number one thing at all. Something else is. Being interested in the truth, being interested in seeing what's going on there. So that's kind of the beginning of it and the end of it. If we have that orientation, if we have that interest, we're already there. We're already moving in that direction. Which isn't to say it's easy or it's all going to sort itself out very quickly, but we're going in the right direction. So in that case, whatever is happening in my life, whatever is happening in the world, whatever I come across is all helping me. Everything is helping me in this case. As Ram Dass says, it's all grist for the mill, all of it. It's not like, well, that's grist for the mill, but that isn't. That's going to jam the mill up. We don't want any of that. It's all very good for the mill, and the mill is very happy to to be grinding it. So I'm interested in what's going on. So what's going on is that I'm keeping myself preoccupied and my attention narrowed down in this way that I am totally distracted from seeing anything else by being fixated upon my goals, being fixated upon getting things to be the way I want them to be, imposing my will, my personal will, projecting whatever stuff is in my mind onto the world and trying to approximate the world to my projections, or reacting to what these projections are as if they actually are the world. So what happens then is that quite naturally I'm going to be interested in this. So when I see that I'm controlling all the time, being controlled all the time, that I'm in this circle of controlling, and that it's all control, then I'm interested and I'm keen to hear about it. I want to learn more. So I see a bit of that and I'm thinking, yeah, this is the good stuff. Let me see some more of this. This is the good stuff. So then I'm not controlling when that's happening. I'm not controlling because controlling, and I know I keep on saying the same thing over and over again, but I don't know what else to do. Controlling means getting things to be the way we want them to be. What the hell is that all about? But when I'm interested in what things actually are, then I'm interested in my controlling. I'm not trying to control my controlling. I'm not trying to get my controlling to go away because I want it to go away. I'm interested in it as it is. So then straight away I'm not controlling. Now that doesn't mean that I straight away get free, or I straight away get enlightened or whatever. But what it does mean is that the force that this controlling has is weakened. Because as long as I'm signing up for it, buying into it, it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger all the time. Every day of my life is getting stronger. So it's a pretty strong force in the first place. But when it gets that momentum and I keep on feeding it and feeding it, it gets ferociously strong, impossibly strong. It becomes Philip K. Dick's Black Iron Prison, and we're just stuck in it. So to become interested in the Black Iron Prison, to become interested in what's going on, doesn't make it disappear, but I'm not feeding it. I'm not giving my energy to it, to the system. And so it ceases to be so all-consuming. It doesn't devour me. It doesn't devour every little bit of my attention all the time. And so I have a bit more attention, a bit more capability to pay proper attention than I did before, because the force of controlling isn't quite so strong over me. And so the more this goes on, the more ability I have, the more my innate capacity to be interested in reality comes back to me. And then I see even more. Now, it's not the case that I'm being interested in what's going on because I think that's going to benefit me in any way, because I think I'm going to win the lotto or get a jackpot somehow. That's going to somehow benefit me. As long as I'm thinking in terms of it's going to benefit me, it's going to help me, it's going to free me from anxiety or depression or OCD or whatever. As long as I'm thinking that, I'm controlling. Because I'm doing it for a reason. Anything we do for a reason is controlling. So that's a handy thing to know. If there's any rationale at all behind it, any trace of the thinking mind, any trace of it, and the thinking mind is great for this. It can put on the robes, it can sit for many, many, many long hours in meditation. It can do all of that crap. It can present the front of being interested in dropping thought. Very well indeed. Very motivated. It'll keep it up for a really, really long time because it knows that something good's going to happen from that. So this is it. This is the way to go. Only it isn't. Because as long as we've got dollar signs in our eyes, as long as we're looking for profit, we are never, ever, ever going to get it anywhere, because we're just doing subtle controlling. We're doing non-doing. We're trying to let go on purpose, which is another form of holding on. But then the thing is, there's nothing we can do about that. Because if we're in the modality where we're always trying to turn a profit and get something out of the situation, then that means we're in control mode. We're orientated towards seeing what isn't real at the expense of what is real. And so everything becomes a super elaborate hoax or trick. No matter what it is, no matter what spiritual disciplines, no matter what types of meditation, or no matter what I do, if I'm in control mode, that stuff's just going to make my situation worse because I'm going to be controlling even more in a subtle way, and I can't see it's controlling, and other people around me can't see it's controlling either, so they might follow me, and so you get this phenomenon that happens all the time in the spiritual world, which is you get all this kind of spirituality for a reason, because we're trying to improve ourselves, which is really the curse of Satan, just to be perfectly clear about it. I think the motivation to improve yourself is a good motivation. It certainly isn't. There's only one motivation that's worth a damn. There's only one motivation that's honest. And that's the motivation to see the truth at whatever cost. And we can't fake it, and we can't be that way on purpose, and there's no methods we can put into play to get to that point where we're orientated in that way. There's nothing we can do about it at all. Absolutely nothing. Either our motivation comes out of our orientation to be wanting to get things to be the way we want them to be, or it's in the direction of wanting to see reality for what it is. There is absolutely no way that we can kind of decide ourselves which way the inner compass is going to point. And this might sound strange, but as I keep saying that, if my compass was pointing in the opposite direction, the hiding away from the truth direction, then it's kind of like no point in having the discussion, because even if I do study and study and study and meditate and meditate and meditate, all of that I'm going to be using to try and benefit myself, to gain some sort of outcome, which is so easy to do, because it's like where we pray and we lead a religious life, a moral life, so we go to heaven. So we do yoga and eat vegetables and meditate a lot and practice compassion, because we want to get something out of that. So in other words, it's kind of like saying everything happens naturally and spontaneously. And if it does so happen that it happens naturally and spontaneously for us to be interested in the truth, then we just go along with that, and there's no need for any methods, there's no need for any gimmicks or anything like that. What does help is just to understand, because if we can understand that principle clearly enough, we're less likely to be put off, we're less likely to be hoodwinked by all the messages that are around us the whole time, trying to lead us in the opposite direction. Okay, thanks for watching.